Okay, we're waiting for the participants to join the session. And as we're waiting, I think we can take a moment for everyone to join. And I see that with some participants, there's an issue with the name. So in case your name is not displayed correctly, you can go to your profile. That's if you look at the icons in the bottom, there's a profile or an icon called participants. And then you can go on to your name basically and change it towards your name. So I think there are some people called circular development, and you can see to change your name to your actual name. I don't know, there must be an issue with the link. Okay, so I see that there's an issue with the slides, so I will try slide sharing from my side. Okay, you should be able to see my slides now. Okay, so I think we are still waiting for some participants to join, but while we are waiting, I will already start. So welcome everyone to the webinar today. It's the first webinar in a series of webinars that we're hosting, and today we're focusing on circular plastics. And the webinar series that we're hosting is called Circular Cities in Action. We're going to take a deep dive into 5 priority sectors for cities. And so my name is Karis Hoffman. I'm part of the circular development team at the ICLEI World Secretariat. And I'll be leading you through the presentation today. So before we get started, I just wanted to note some housekeeping messages. So this session is being recorded, and all of the recordings will be made available on the ICLEI Circulars website. And you can revert to these recordings afterwards. And also feel free to introduce yourself using the chat, and please share which city you're joining us from. This is going to be a very interactive session, so please use the Q&A function if you have any questions that arise during our speakers' presentations, and then we will have 30 minutes in the end to address these questions. And then another important aspect is that we will produce 2-page sector guidance documents, which will be based on the outcomes of these webinars and also the solutions presented. So you can keep an eye on that in our channels. And these will also be part of the ICLEI World Congress 2022, which I will be sharing more information later in this presentation. So just a note on the agenda. First, I'll give a bit of an thematic introduction to the topic of circular plastics, about 15 to 20 minutes. Then we have different speakers joining us that are going to be sharing the circular interventions that they're implementing in their cities, and also solutions that they have created as part of marketplace apps. And then we will be addressing your questions in the end. So we'll have about 30 minutes for that. So diving right into the topic, we know that cities are facing the challenges of the linear economy. So along the whole linear economy value chain, from extraction to production to end of life, we see that cities are consuming about 75% of the world's natural resources, and they are responsible for about 70% of global greenhouse gas emissions. And then we also see that cities produce about 50% of global waste, and it's kind of difficult to find high-level figures like this for plastics in specific. But we know that marine litter is a big issue, and around 60% of plastic litter in the ocean actually originates from cities. So going more into detail on the linear plastics economy itself, So in terms of extraction and production, we know that that already has environmental consequences. And so oil and gas extraction is actually projected to grow for plastics production from 14% today to about 50% by 2050. And this is linked towards the shift to renewables as well. So the oil and gas producers are diversifying and producing more plastics as a way to make it viable. And then linked to this also, the GHG emissions of plastics could outpace those from coal by 2030. So this is a figure related to the US market. And then in terms of the use phase and the end of life of plastic products, we know that the safe planetary boundary for pollutants, including plastics, has already been exceeded. So this is based on research that was published last month. And then we also know that that plastic waste has environmental pollution effects, as well as is affecting human health, and is also leading to waste management challenges in cities. So then the question is, why would we want to implement circularity in the plastics value chain? Of course, to tackle these issues. We know that the world consumes about 100 billion tons of material every year. And out of these, only 8.6% are revalorized. So this is also linked to closing the loop in the plastics value chain, and this can reduce ecosystem stress. And we also need to focus on more than just end of the pipe solutions. So we cannot recycle our way out of this. We need to design and regulate for reducing the extraction in the first place. So this is where cities can come in, as cities have a mandate to regulate as well. So if we look at the value chain, there's intervention points at each step of the process. So we have the 5R strategies that are outlined below, which I will go into depth in a moment. So this is part of the Circular City Actions framework that we have developed as part of the Circular Lab for Cities program, together with the Ellen MacArthur Foundation, Circular Economy, and Metabolic. And so the Circular City Actions framework is a set of 5 complementary strategies that cities can use to implement circularity locally. And these strategies address the different roles that local and regional governments can play, from public service delivery to cooperation with local stakeholders, asset management, urban planning, and regulation. And these can be applied to all production, consumption, and waste management processes influenced by the city or its residents. And these strategies are most effective when implemented in parallel. So it's a really holistic strategy. And as I was saying, that this framework has been developed as part of the Circular Lab for Cities project. So the Circular Lab for Cities program has aimed to support cities worldwide in implementing the circular economy. And it's really geared to picking up everyone where they are. So there might be cities that are already more advanced in terms of circular economy, or cities that are just beginning. And this program is really designed to support every city in their circular economy journey. And through this program, cities can explore different circular solutions that are being implemented by other cities. They can look at their urban metabolism and see which priority sector is most pressing, and where they can have the most benefit locally to transition towards circularity, and act to identify the priority sectors. So to go into more depth into what this program is offering. So as part of this program, we're developing knowledge products, as I mentioned, the Circular City Actions framework, but we also have the Knowledge Hub that is collecting over 400 different case studies of different strategies that cities are implementing locally. Then part of this program is also an online tool that is being developed that enables cities to scan their urban metabolism and look at the best practices and see, learn from cities with similar characteristics, what they are implementing that can then maybe be implemented by that city. So this is really core of this program. And then lastly, we're also providing guidance for planning circular economy interventions. So this is part of this is also developing circular economy roadmaps for the pilot cities. And so, yeah, to go into more detail on the Circular City Actions framework. we're going to look at the 5 strategies in specific. So the first one is the strategy around rethink. So this is really about redesigning the system so that we can lay the foundation for circular economy activities locally. And the local government actions that cities can take are eliminating linear incentives and incentivizing circular practices. So we see that with banning and regulation as well. And a good example of this is the comprehensive action plan for elimination of single-use plastics that will be presented later, that's being implemented in Delhi in India. And then part of this is also supporting closed loop systems and cross-sectoral synergies and incentivizing the shift towards sustainable lifestyles. Next is regenerate. So this is really about harmonizing with nature, about bringing more nature back into cities and also making use of the ecosystem services. So part of this is protecting and restoring local ecosystems. This can include preventing plastics entering nature, as well as promoting solutions inspired by nature. So nature-based solutions is a big topic, as well as prioritizing renewable resources. And as we don't have a city now to present an example of this, this is an example that's been implemented in Sao Paulo. So Sao Paulo has worked to ban plastic cups in public buildings to prioritize renewable and recyclable incentives. So next up is the strategies around reduce. So this is really about doing better with less and designing infrastructure so that material usage and energy consumption is minimized, and also waste generation is kept to a minimum. So as part of this, local governments can design infrastructure in the built environment for resource efficiency, and they can support local, circular and resource efficient business innovations, as well as local low impact circular economies. And an example of this is the free water refill project in Kiev. So the free water refill project is a map of about 50 restaurants and cafes that offer to refill any cup or bottle. And the aim of this is to reduce single-use plastic waste. So a lot of PET bottles are being bought on the go when people are thirsty, and this project is aiming to reduce this type of consumption. And next is the strategies around reuse. So this is really about keeping materials in usage for longer and also more frequently. So it's about really extending the life phase of resources, products, and in cities as well, spaces and infrastructure. So the actions that local governments can take here are designing and regulating for extended use, facilitating secondhand markets and sharing and exchange platforms, as well as supporting reuse, repair, remanufacturing, and maintenance of existing resources, products, spaces, and infrastructure. And so we have a great example that's going to be shared later as well regarding the Bonn Goes Reusable campaign in Bonn, Germany. And next up, we have the last set of strategies related to recover. So this is really about making waste history, about recovering resources as much as possible after they have been tossed, basically, to reintroduce them into the production processes. So local governments here can aim to design and regulate for separation and recovery. And they can support the collection and sorting of waste to facilitate recovery, as well as processing waste and ensuring its re-entry into industry at its highest value. So connected to this, we will have a presentation on the Collect Waste Trading app by BV Rio. And next up, I would like to invite Dr. Jay Chandaran to speak about the comprehensive action plan to reduce single-use plastics in India. So I will stop sharing my screen here, and you can go ahead and share your screen. You should be able to share, but please let me know if you are not able to share.
So Hoffman, is it visible?
Yes, it's visible.
So thank you so much for the opportunity, the team at ICLEI and all esteemed speakers in the panel. A very Good evening from India. This is a case study which I'm going to present in terms of a comprehensive action plan to manage plastic waste in Delhi. So I'm going to deal with this topic in 5 different segments. One, the assessment of plastic waste in Delhi, the policy instruments available in Delhi to manage plastic waste, the SUPs, the single-use plastics, and the policy instruments. Then finally, to the comprehensive action plan on single-use plastics and the IEC action plan, which we are undertaking present. So this is the assessment which I have done. In India, around 9,200 tons per day is being generated. Which is almost 5% of the total municipal solid waste generation. So out of the total solid waste generated in India, 5 to 6% are plastic waste. And in Delhi, it's approximately 600 tons per day. And I'm not going into the state-wise breakup. So there are different studies to kind of assess the plastic waste in Delhi. As per Central Pollution Control Board, it's 644 here. And as per another Department of Environment study, it's around 1060 TPD. And depending upon another directive study, it's about 1200. So on an average, we can assume easily that the plastic waste generated in Delhi is ranging from 650 to 1100 tons per day. And looking at the policy instruments which are available presently in India to handle plastic waste management, in 2011 we had a plastic waste management rules which prescribed a management system and also prescribed authorities 12 years back. And after that, an amendment took place in 2018, which prohibited for the first time plastics of less than 50 micron thickness, and it also assigned responsibilities to different stakeholders, to different departments, government departments in the state. And in August 2021, there was another amendment to the plastic waste management rules, in which a ban was put on plastics less than 120 microns. So 50 microns in 2016 and 120 microns presently. What now they have additionally done is that we have also identified single-use plastics which should be banned. And 2021, in September, there was another amendment which said that carry bags of products made out of recycled plastic can be used to store, carry, dispense, or package ready-to-eat drink food stuff. And January this year, there was another draft rules which proposed imposition of environmental damage compensation whenever the plastic waste management rules are flouted. And we now have come up with, in February, we have also come with the guidelines on extended producer responsibility. The SUPs, as we all know, that the present prohibition is on plastic of thickness less than 50 microns. And they are the first time SUPs have been identified for the first time in our rules in 2021. And so these are the different items. Plastic bags and sheets, 75 microns and 120 microns. Non-woven plastic carry bags has been banned from 39th of 2021. And there are 6 items which have been identified to be banned from this present year, July 2022. Another list of 13 items which will be banned from this year. Sorry, this is a typographical error here, from December 2022. So the 6 items include earbuds, plastic sticks for balloons, plastic flags, candy sticks, ice cream sticks, and thermocol for decoration. Only 13 items which are being proposed to be banned from December this year include plates, cups, glasses, cutlery like forks, spoons, knives, straws, trays, wrapping and packing films around sweet boxes, invitation cards, and cigarette packets. And also plastic and PVC banners less than 100 microns, and it also includes stirrers. So coming to the comprehensive action plan, about which the main subject of discussion today, So this was approved in August 2021, and this is presently in action. So number one is the policy and regulatory framework. Number two is the institutional mechanism which you have identified for plastic waste management. Then the management of littered single-use plastics, number three. Number four is the management part for SUPs. Number five is the enforcement of the ban that is going to be imposed or which was imposed. Number six is the recycling infrastructure and end of the life disposable facilities. Number seven is the development and promotion of alternatives to prohibited items and promoting innovation. Number eight is towards data collection and monitoring mechanism. And number nine is for awareness and generation capacity building. Well, the last pillar in the action plan is the action taken for reducing elimination in different government offices, state agencies. So here we come to the first pillar, that is a policy and regulatory framework. So here we have prepared, number one, we have prepared a comprehensive action plan now. Then we are also trying to make a policy for inclusion of different components related to elimination of SUPs. And there's a mission called Swachh Bharat Mission, which means essentially Clean India Mission, under which when we are offering funds to remediate or manage legacy solid waste. So in Delhi, we got some 3 landfill sites. We've got huge amounts of legacy waste, which is not processed. And this is directly proportional to effective management of plastic waste management. And hence, in this pillar, we are speaking about policies which would encourage remediation or management of legacy waste. And then number 4, we have a policy for development of decentralized recycling infrastructure in special focus on low value plastics. And also an adoption of a public procurement policy for products as well as packaging material made of recycled plastics or alternatives to identified single-use plastics. Looking at institutional mechanism, we already constituted state-level special task forces, which is monitored by the highest level by the chief secretary. And then we have also identified nodal departments, so that there are about 30-40 departments in the state, in the government. So we have a nodal department who can coordinate the implementation. Apart from that, we have the city-level task forces under the Commissioner of Municipal Corporations. These are local bodies which directly deal with solid waste management, including plastics. And then we also have a district level task force under various district magistrates. And there's a plastic waste management cell at a state level and the district level, and in each urban local body. So in short, just to sum up, so we got enough institutional mechanism at different levels, from the higher level till the local implementation level. When we look at the management of littered single-use plastic items, then we are actually identified littering hotspots in different areas of Delhi. We also identified ingress points of littered single-use plastics to understand the sources where from these plastic items will be littered in surface water bodies and drains, and also have a strategy for preventing the same. Then we also have a phased plan for cleaning surface water bodies, the wet bodies, the wetlands, and the drains, when targeting the floating single-use plastic items. And we also attempting to document the total quantity of plastic waste which are present in the legacy waste, and also have a plan to manage in each landfill sites. And coming to the main part, the management part. As I showed you in the first slide, we assessed the plastic waste generation, and we got a good idea about what is the plastic waste generation in each zone or district. And we also assessed the infrastructure which is required for managing the plastic waste, be it collection, segregation, or recycling. And then we also analyzed the gaps, the gap analysis, and the strategy for developing infrastructure for plastic waste management. And we also use, because we have this federal structure in India wherein there are states as well as the central government. So also we think about leveraging funds from the central government in terms of the Clean India mission. And then we have formulated strategies for collection and segregation at the municipal level. And we also made a scheme, which is under draft now, a scheme for registration of producers, importers, and brand owners by the state pollution control boards. And we also in the process of developing a database of all producers, importers, and brand owners who are supposed to implement the extended producer responsibility. And we also have a scheme. It's in the process of drafting a scheme for verification or audit of recyclers, producers, importers, and brand owners by the state pollution control committees. Regarding the enforcement of ban, as I showed you in the third or the fourth slide, there are already existing bans on certain categories of plastics, and there is a futuristic ban which would come into action from July and December of this particular year. So we conduct regular enforcement drives, both from the Pollution Control Committee and from the various state agencies. And after identification, we issue closure directions to various industrial units or manufacturing facilities. Now, looking at the plastic recycling infrastructure and end-of-life facilities, we have developed a database of recyclers of plastic category wise, and we have brought in so many industrial units now into the legal bracket, into the statutory framework, and we also developed a plan for setting up recycling facilities geographically equally distributed across the landscape of Delhi. And we are in the process of formulating an incentive scheme for setting up recycling capacity so that entrepreneurs and new investors can also come on board regarding the plastic waste management. And we also have developed industrial composting facilities for compostable plastics. And this is under process number 6, the scheme for promotion of recycling technologies. We have not finished it. We are still drafting this particular scheme. And the development and promotion of alternatives to prohibited single-use plastic is very crucial. It's very easy to ban or prohibit things, but it's very important to have feasible and practical alternatives in place, which can be easily adopted by the public. So towards this direction, we have developed a scheme, which is again in draft stage, for providing assistance to set up manufacturing capacities of alternatives, including for enterprises which are transitioning away from the single-use plastics. So we have formulated a kind of a green startup scheme which would address these issues, and the government will be offering seed capital to these innovative startups which would come up here. And we also planning to provide incentives for penetration of alternatives in the market, and also we are developing a database of producers of alternative products, including compostable plastic manufacturing capacities. This I already spoken about regarding a promotion scheme, and we are also in touch with a research and development wing of our Defense Department, Ministry of Defense. It's called DRDO, the Defense Research and Development Organization, and we are planning to identify some bioplastics which could become a very good alternate to single-use plastics, especially in the area of packaging. And whatever said and done, be it the bans or the enforcement or the policies in place, it's very important that whatever we plan is based upon sound scientific data and sound evidence, so that whatever we policy decisions we take is properly evidence-based. So towards this direction, we create a development. We are creating an online database which would cover all the items which are covered under the comprehensive action plan, and you'll be having a dashboard in which you'll be able to monitor all the deliverables and kind of rate each agency's performance in terms of their our expectations from them in the actionables under the action plan. And we also have a public grievance or a complaints portal through which the public can air their grievances related to plastic waste. Regarding awareness generation capacity building, we have a roadmap which I'll be dealing with in the next segment, the IEC plan. And we have strictly implementing whatever actions we have received in the standard guidelines issued by the ministry. And this is the IEC action plan which I've been speaking about. And the plan deals with all the important stakeholders, be the education department. So in Delhi, we got a scheme called the Eco Club scheme, in which every school, around 2,000 schools have got small clubs called Eco Clubs. And we actually are in touch with all the 2,000 Eco Clubs, kind of spreading awareness about the harms of single-use plastics and the need for children and the next generation to kind of discourage use of single-use plastics. And we are also, through an action plan awareness campaign, in touch with urban local bodies, the general administration departments, and the Delhi Pollution Control Committee. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. That was a very comprehensive presentation and very interesting to hear what you are doing at the local level. So next we have Birgit Wissmann, who's going to be talking about the Bonn Goes Reusable campaign implemented in Bonn. So Birgit, if you would like to share your slides.
Yes, I will share it at once. Just a second, please. No, that's poor. No. It doesn't work.
Anju, would you be available to share the slides then? Perfect, we can see the slides now.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Okay, I try it once more. Oh, no. No. So yes, good afternoon to everybody listening. And my name is Birgit Wissmann. I'm working for the local waste management service and well, for Bonn. And the next slide, please. Yes. The problems we had to face was that the changing lifestyle towards eating and drinking out of home, we call it Mediterraneization, using disposable cups and food packaging needs more resources and causes more waste and littering. In 2018, local politicians made an application for the project Waste Prevention of Disposable Cups to the main committee of the City Council of Bonn, and Bonn Orange was chosen to set up the initiative. Next. So, concerning the 5 R's, we see our project in the section of reuse. Can go on. Yes, the initiative consists of 2 campaigns. Where the Cupster become a Cupster. It's a combination of the word cup and hipster, because mainly young people used to have coffee to go and other beverages to go. It started in 2019 and ended last summer, reducing number of disposal to go cups, bottles, etc. by using reusable cups and bottles. The message was take your own cup or bottle or use a returnable deposit system for outdoor catering. The second campaign is still going on. It's Bonn geht den Mehrweg. Bonn goes for the reusable way, or Bonn goes reusable. It started last year in spring with ads in newspapers, and it tries to implement reuse to every area of life using reusable cups, bottles, dishes, cutlery, food containers, shopping bags, and baskets wherever it is possible. Look at the picture. It was taken 1.5 years ago, shortly after Corona had its first spread, and it was an event in the public area in the middle, in the center of Bonn. And my sister took this picture. It's a 100-liter bin, waste bin, filled with disposal packages and cups. So this is the situation you can see, or you can sometimes still see, and we can go on. Okay, in this picture, you can see one of our testimonials. We developed a campaign together with steering groups with members of economy, tourism, city government, and the Chamber of Commerce and Industry of Bonn. We wanted to convince 2 target groups, business selling coffee to go and other to-go beverages, to refill customers' own reusable cups or to use a returnable deposit system. And the second target group are the customers to use only own reusable beverage containers or using a cup of a returnable system. Okay. Next. So we developed various communications materials, flyers, hygiene rules, which was very important in times of Corona, stickers, posters, table displays, Instagram posts, and a microsite. The microsite, you can see a picture of it, was made for both the business and the customers. The centerpiece is a street map shown here of Bonn listing participating businesses and their offers. I tried to share my screen. I didn't success, so I can't really show a detail of our map. It offers whether the businesses offer refilling of own cups, they're offering a returnable deposit system, and offering water free. Each business offers something else. Okay. Bonn geht den Mehrweg. Bonn goes reusable is a further development of the first campaign, making businesses and citizens more sensitive for all kinds of reusable foods and beverage containers. We had a relaunch of the microsite and Instagram channel. We had some new information packages for the businesses. We had radio spots, posters in the public area, ads in newspaper, 2 mailings with information material. We constructed an information booth. You can see it here. It's formed like a way through the reuse. That's the philosophy behind that. It's making reusable packaging more tangible, a tangible experience by using augmented reality for edutainment. It's education and entertainment at the same time, also to get the young people. The information booth can also be shown in schools, public buildings, and other places. Next, please. Yes. The results of our action was a mutual influence of reuse and reduce. Using refillable containers reduces the input of resources and the amount of waste. Over 150 gastronomy businesses, supermarkets, kiosks have already joined the project and are listed in the street map of the microsite. We started with about 20 and now we have over 150. The feedback and suggestions from the target groups and other multipliers through social media helped us to make or to give the whole project more quality. Cooperation and knowledge exchanges with initiatives, citizens, for example, participating at the SDG days and conducting in an exhibition in the House of Nature in Bonn last year. And we had a podium discussion in 2019, it has been changed here, within the European Week for Waste Reduction. Yes. So the success factors of our campaigns were a multi-channel approach who helped to spread the message about reuse like snowballs. We call it snowball effect. And the name Bonn geht den Mehrweg, Bonn goes reusable, is to be registered as a trademark in order to further strengthen the awareness and sustainability of the initiative. And yes. And here I have a few examples of our, we pointed out that our success factors were information, presentation, recognition value, identification, cooperation, and emotional appeal. The emotional appeal you can see in this picture. We have some metal shields. Those fingers, they look like fingers of a tree, hold the shield, but they are printed onto this shield. And it says, hi, 43,000 trees have to be cut each year to produce disposal cups only in Germany. So please use reusable cups. At least I'm keeping your air clean. Yeah, an approach and approaching your emotional, And cooperation, we have several zero waste initiatives in Bonn, and we cooperate especially with this one here. It's going to educate children from 6 to 10. And a colleague of mine, she's a teacher, she also supports what we call a driving license for climate, or climate driving license, where children learn a lot about climate and waste reduction and things like that. Zero Waste Bonn is also very present initiative, and others. Information and presentation. We present our campaigns with those information booths, or with this special information booth, and we have identification for business, for example, with our new testimonials. They all have a business in Bonn offering reusable dishes and cups, and so that new businesses can identify themselves with those testimonials. Okay, I would have liked to show you our new video, a very short flyover through the two campaigns, but since I cannot share my screen, I can't show you. I say now thank you for paying attention, and I'm looking forward to your questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Birgit, for this presentation. It's really great to see the initiative being taken up by so many actors in the city. And maybe if you like, you can share the link to the video in the chat, and then the participants can look at the video later. Not sure if we can share it right now, because the audio is also maybe not translated into the Zoom, but that's something that everyone can check out who's interested afterwards. So next up, we have Thierry Sanders from BV Rio presenting the Connect app, which is an example for a recover strategy. So Thierry, if you would like to try to share your presentation.
Hello, good afternoon. Let me just pop up the screen. Let's see. Yeah. Can you see this?
Yes, we can see it.
Yeah, okay, good. I would just like to share with you a mobile technology that we have developed, which fits into the the recovery and waste collection supply chain, and has been applied in several cities. So just to understand how this fits into the larger context, Dr. Jaya Chandra was explaining about the regulations which have come into effect in Delhi. And we must say that from what we see in the countries that we operate, such as in Brazil, Indonesia, Vietnam, we've done also quite a lot of research in India. We see that the EPR regulations are really having a massive impact. And we also see that countries are at different stages of evolution of EPR, or extended producer responsibility. And just from my own interpretation of this evolution of EPR, I see a sort of happy, naive phase, which is sort of pre-EPR regulation, where you see a lot of voluntary projects that are very photogenic. They tend not to have a big impact in terms of waste collection, such as beach cleanups or other smaller projects. And yeah, those are individually started projects. Sometimes there's companies sponsoring them and involved. Sometimes there's municipal sponsorship. But at a certain stage, when governments start to sign EPR regulations, there will be a voluntary phase in the EPR regulation with no targets or no real legal consequence. So that is the phase that many countries that we operate in are in, where municipalities and governments, but also multinationals, especially those Western multinationals that are operational in Vietnam or Indonesia, Brazil, they decide to start experimenting with how to organize the waste, the reverse supply chain of waste, and to be able to develop not projects but transactional systems to actually transact waste from waste generators to recyclers. You need to have a mechanism to be able to track and trace and monitor that waste. And in some cases, you need to provide additional payments to the players in the supply chain. So we see that in these countries that are sort of in the experimentation phase of EPR, need to have a mobile app to be able to track and trace and to do payments. And then in countries such as India, which have progressed all the way down to where there's annual targets and penalties even for large corporations. You see, it's no longer happy and naive, but there's full competition. There's multiple PROs, and which are competing on price to deliver recovery and waste collection at lower costs. And it is essential for the pollution waste boards in India to be able to audit and make traceable all the collections of waste. And in India, many of you will know the Kabadiwala system, so the waste pickers and the informal collector systems. So many of these people have no bank account, and yet you need to have a way to pay them without the money disappearing in the hands of middlemen. So this is really the big challenge that we are faced with now, that multinationals do, or fast-moving consumer goods companies do want to reach their collection targets, whether voluntary or regulated, and they seek a mechanism to be able to track and trace the collections, but also to be able to pay informal waste pickers earlier in the supply chain. So for this, we have developed a mobile app called Collect, which you can see spelled here. And the mechanism basically works by signing an agreement with a fast-moving consumer goods company on the volume and the material that we will focus on. We then go to the other side of the supply chain, which is the recycler, to sign offtake agreements for the amounts that they are willing to buy at what quality and what price. We then go to the aggregators to also sign offtake agreements. And then with the waste pickers and the collection centers in India, the Kabadiwala, we will inform them about the app and that they will receive payments for every kilo of the agreed material that they collect and sell up the supply chain. So by using this mobile app, we are now able to monitor the sale of waste collected and sold up the chain. And we are also able to make direct payments from the fast-moving consumer goods company over here, who have created a central fund, which is essentially a central bank account, and connect the mobile app to a debit card. So even though these waste pickers have no bank account, by offering them debit cards connected to the app, they can go to an ATM and extract the money from their mobile app and have cash in hand. So the important parts of success factors for this for our program and our app is essentially that we work together with informal waste pickers, so we don't try and disrupt them. Many waste pickers are earning between, let's say, 50 and 60% of the minimum wage. So by paying them direct incentives for collection, we can raise their income to minimum wage or higher. So it's almost doubling their income. We realize that not all waste pickers and informal sector collectors have smartphones. Many of them do, and the percentage is increasing. But we've had to develop the app in a way that people that have no smartphone or not even a phone at all can log in through the smartphone and our app at the collection center. So with facial recognition, we can allow access for people that have no phone and then piggyback on the app, which is installed on someone else's phone. So making clear to the informal sector that we're not here to push them aside, but to actually work with them. Because at the end of the day, they are the most experienced waste operators that have been around for decades. We are thereby helping a huge group of people to increase their income. And the other important success factor, which I've mentioned once or twice, is that we're able to do direct payments to them, which have to be done the same day. Otherwise, people lose faith in these kinds of apps. So you can download Collect on Google Play or App Store, and you can visit the website collect.app to see some more. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that presentation. It's really great to see the solution that you are creating. So now we can open the floor for questions. We have about 20 minutes for that. And I've seen that in the Q&A, we already have a question that I think is addressed to you, Birgit. It's related to COVID-19. So the question is, because of COVID-19, most people prefer using single-use container beverages or cups. And the question is, how can we persuade people to not make use of these single-use items?
I couldn't recognize this problem in Bonn and the region of Bonn. Maybe many people prefer disposable cups, but you can try to explain to them that it is safe if they bring you their own cup into a restaurant being refilled, because we instruct the businesses how they can do that properly without risking an infection or something like that. The businesses are instructed to handle it safe.
Great. So that comes back to, I think, the hygiene rules that you were mentioning as well, that are provided to the businesses to operate this kind of refund system.
Pardon?
Sorry, I was just saying that during your presentation, you also mentioned
Yes.
that the businesses who are participating, they receive hygiene rules to be using these reusable cups. So that's probably also part of the efforts towards that.
Yes, not only part of the efforts, but also part of our microsite. You can download those rules there and get a lot of information for both businesses and citizens. The street map is the centerpiece, but there are 2 links. One link is for the citizens and one link is for the business, and they can get a lot of information and also can download it. So also the citizens can see the hygiene rules for the business. They can download them, they can inform themselves. We put everything into the microsite.
That's a great initiative also to provide that to the users. So if there's any other questions, you are now enabled to raise your hand if you would like to ask questions directly to our speakers. And you can, of course, also use the chat function. And while we wait for more questions coming in, I actually had a question to Dr. Jay Chandran. So the question is, how are you engaging with the public to raise awareness and support your efforts in phasing out single-use plastics? So you were talking about the online platform to share grievances, but also the monitoring platform. So it would be interesting to understand how you're engaging the public in that.
Yeah, thank you so much. So, I mean, I told you that we have divided the public into 1 or 2 segments. One, we are targeting very heavily on the schools and colleges. We have these eco clubs in every school and college of Delhi. So they number around 2,000 clubs. So we have this continuous engagement with the eco clubs, and creating awareness about the usage and the discourage and kind of inculcate the habit of discouraging single-use plastics. So that has been very effective, and kind of we have these continuous competitions in schools and colleges, be it essay writing competitions, painting competitions, and which kind of sensitizes the young minds towards the dangers of single-use plastics. Looking at the segment, another segment of the senior, with adults, then what we have very targeted campaigns in areas. For example, in New Delhi or South Delhi or West Delhi, there are ULBs, there are local bodies there, and they have this constant or very consistent kind of campaigns through, for example, exchange melas. What is exchange melas? You can go there, give your bottles, and in return you get money, or in return you get cloth bags. So there are also kiosks, which have been public kiosks, wherein actually you can just put the plastic bottle inside and get coins in exchange. So they are not been implemented in a very macro scale, in a very large scale, but there are small initiatives which have been taken in the urban local body levels, which helps not in actually managing plastic waste, but in actually creating awareness. Another segment which we are targeting is having stakeholder consultations or roundtable conferences with civil society organizations. So we sit with them and kind of try to understand the feasibility of them turning down usage of a particular single-use plastic item. And so during those stakeholder consultations, we got a list of many good alternatives which can actually encourage or motivate a citizen to discourage a single-use plastics. And we, on the basis of the list of alternatives, we are now coming out with a policy which actually will list practical alternatives to single-use plastics.
Great, thank you very much. It's also great to hear that you're consulting with stakeholders so directly and actually finding solutions with them. So I think that sounds very promising. Then if there's no other questions right now, I actually have a question to Thierry. So you were mentioning that on the Collect app, it links buyers as well. So I was wondering what type of buyers do you have on the platform? Do you see uptake with multinationals as well, or is it more small and medium-sized enterprises?
Well, it's the multinationals that are keen on using the app as a solution in the supply chain. But the buyers, so you have buyers of material, and you have buyers of a service. So you know, a waste picker will look for valuable recyclable materials. We'll register it on the app. So take a picture, the weight, the price, and then go to a collection center or redemption center to sell those materials. So we have many buyers at that level, so smaller buyers of waste who then sell to larger buyers. Those buyers will generally be balers or aggregators, and those will then sell to recyclers. So we have very few recyclers. We have a bit more aggregators, a lot of collection centers, and then many waste pickers. But to the multinational or the fast-moving consumer goods companies, for them, they essentially need a system to monitor the flow of materials up the supply chain. And they also need a way to pay for the service that the informal sector is providing. And so they're not using the app directly themselves, but they use the data in the app to make the payments and monitor performance. Yeah.
Great, thank you very much. And another question to Thierry for Collect is, the question is who decides the share of payments between the stakeholders, and how do you interact and inform the informal waste pickers, and which waste pickers were, or how many waste pickers were involved in the development of the app?
Yeah, no, that's a very good question, because the reason why we decided to develop the app is because one of our clients, which is an international packaging company, said, you know, we have always subsidized just before the recycler, so the aggregators that are baling waste materials, and in the hope that the aggregator would then transfer part of that subsidy down the supply chain. But of course, we have all learned that trickle-down economics doesn't work, even though we learned it at school or at university. And so, yes, we need to do payments directly at the bottom, where the waste pickers are, the ones that are doing the heavy lifting, who are being exploited or underpaid. And so, yeah, we have basically said to our clients, we need to make sure that the poorest have to at least earn a living wage. So that means doubling their income. So we do a calculation, you know, if they do 40 kilos a day, and they do that for, let's say, 28 or 30 days a month, then how much should they earn in addition to what they're earning from the materials? to bring them up to that living wage. So you can then calculate per kilo what the incentive should be. And the same goes for the kabadiwala, or the informal sector collection centers. There are also many people that are, let's say, paid minimum wage or below minimum wage. So we need to make sure that their incomes are also increased. So we believe much more in trickle-up economics than trickle-down economics. And exactly the question about how many waste pickers have been involved in designing the app. The app is developed for the informal sector. So, you know, me being a Dutchman with a university degree is probably the worst informed person to design an app. And so in Indonesia, in Bali, we had about 10 to 20 waste pickers. And in Vietnam, around 50, and in Brazil, 40, that have tested and told us to make changes. For example, it was very text-based initially. We've now added a lot of icons and images to make it easier for people that are not very literate. Yeah.
Great, thank you. And it's also great to hear that you have so many users as well piloting the app. So another question. Okay, we have another question coming up in the chat. So the question is directed to Dr. Jayachandran, asking if you could elaborate on the data collection and the monitoring mechanisms. So the question is, monitoring plastics consumption, including by the private sector at the local level, is quite challenging. How do you engage with the private sector to contribute to this platform, and how is the data compiled?
Because all the manufacturers and the producers, they fall within the ambit of the state pollution control boards. And the state pollution control boards have a very good control and hold over all these industrial units. Since they are basically located in the industrial areas, clearly demarcated areas within the city. And they essentially have to apply through for registration and authorization through a portal, which is called the consent portal. So that consent portal has got various variables or parameters which the manufacturers or the producers, which they have to share with the pollution control board, or else there will be severe penalties and fines on those units. And that is a prime reason why we have data collected from the various stakeholders in the plastic ecosystem in Delhi.
Thank you very much. So it mostly goes through the state boards, the pollution boards. And then also you were mentioning that you have a monitoring platform for the implementation. So I was wondering who can contribute to this monitoring platform. So is it also open to citizens? I think there was also a function to monitor the ministries that are involved. So maybe you can expand a bit more on that.
Presently, we don't have a monitoring platform, but as I said in the comprehensive action plan, we got this dashboard which are now developing, which would be a comprehensive kind of a dashboard across all urban local bodies, wherein actually the public can monitor the generation, the assessment and the generation of plastic waste in every geographical area. So that's a work in progress, and currently we don't have that kind of a portal or a dashboard which can monitor in the generation of plastic waste in different areas.
Okay, thanks. And I think I understood something falsely, because I understood that there was a monitoring platform also to monitor the implementation, but then I must have been mistaken. Then I have another question for Birgit relating to the Bonn Goes Reusable campaign. So you were talking about how first you had the Werde Kapster campaign, and now you expanded the campaign to introduce as well kind of reusability in different areas as well. So I was wondering if you see a bigger uptake in the restaurants and cafes participating, and if you also see a bigger uptake in the citizens' uptake of these other reusable facilities as well.
Yes, well, we gain more and more businesses that join our campaign, that join the presenting or the offering of food and beverages in reusable containers. It's very difficult to really measure it, to say we save a lot of kilos of waste or something like that. Because in the processing or in your daily life in a restaurant, for example, it's hard to register how many cups you're saving. The interesting point for the businesses is that each disposable cup or one-way cup costs about 5 to 10 German cents. And if they join a deposit system, they can really save money. And some of the businesses give a discount on their coffee, for example, of 10 cents. So that's more attractive and for the customer. We will see. The campaign doesn't stop, and we have to give more effort. On the other hand, on the other side, we have the Packaging Act in Germany, and it was actualized last year. And from the 1st of January in 2023, restaurants and supermarkets, everyone who sells to-go food and beverages and has more than 80 square meters of business place, or is bigger than 80 square meters, has to offer an alternative of reusable dishes. So what we will do this year is to make a center point on this part of the Packaging Act, to to give more information for those who have more than 80 square meters. So I think, well, the act forces the business to use more reusable cups and dishes.
I think that's a great example to see national policy also going down to the local level, because I think the campaign is really helpful then as a kind of a multiplier locally to help these businesses make this transition as well. So that's a really great example.
Yeah, and you need not to forget the social media. It has a big influence on, let's say, more younger people, but also other people. And we have an Instagram post every week, and that encourages people to make things, the do-it-yourself spots, for example, or how to make a flower pot out of an old boot or something like that, and also giving them some information about taking reuse cups and hygienic rules and things like that.
Yeah, so it's also very important to have this cultural shift as well, to actually change people's habits from using these the single-use cups to actually transitioning to the reusable options.
Right.
Then I have a rather general question. So far, we haven't really talked about challenges that you see in implementation. So it's we were really focusing on the success factors of the different actions that you're implementing, but I would be interested to know if you see any challenges in scaling what you are doing. So you're free to take the floor at any time to answer this question.
Well, one of the biggest challenges I see is that it would be fantastic if municipalities and local governments would take more of a lead on encouraging the larger brand owners or packaging manufacturers in their cities to follow up on waste collection targets, or to come up with new designs for packaging. So shifting to compostable packaging, or to do programs like Birgit has explained in Bonn. So yeah, I think it's nice to have a carrot. That's the way we work with incentives, but it works even better if you have a stick. So municipal, local governments can play a very important role in that. And you are seeing that in India, where serious penalties have now been issued to Coca-Cola and Pepsi for even not submitting a plan on waste collection, let alone whether they have achieved their targets. That's the next penalty to come. And that really works. So I think a stronger government can also help in this issue.
Great, thank you very much for sharing that. That's a really good point. Birgit, would you like to answer this question as well?
Well, I don't have such a big experience on working with private companies like Pepsi Cola or Coca-Cola or whoever. So I can't join into the answer now.
I can just list out two challenges which we face in Delhi. Number one is the challenges in actual segregation, household segregation. So a good plastic recycling or processing process is heavily dependent upon good segregation. So that segregation doesn't happen at the household level. So that creates problem at the recovery facilities, at the material recovery facilities in the municipal bodies. That is number one. And number two is the non-availability of very practical and feasible alternatives which are cost effective. I mean, plastic is very cheap, and that's why it has caught the imagination of the public. So it's very important that we have very cost-effective alternatives to single-use plastics, and that would say that that is where the technology itself is lacking, and I would call that a second challenge which we face.
Mm-hmm.
Great, thank you very much for those reflections. So now I would like to end the Q&A session because I still have a few slides to share before we end. So Unju, if you can share the slides again. Great, thank you. You can skip over to the next slide. So we're pretty much at the end of this first webinar. It's been really great to have this start with the topic of circular plastics. And I would like to invite everyone joining us today to also join us for the next webinars. And my colleague has shared the link where you can see an overview over the different webinars and sign up for the other installments if you haven't already. And we're going to next be focusing on circular buildings and construction in April. And basically the webinars are happening every 2 months on the last Thursday. So that's kind of the frequency that you can expect there. And then going on to the next slide, there's also a great opportunity this year to join us at the ICLEI World Congress 2022. So this is a Congress where we're gathering all of the ICLEI member cities and our partners, And the Congress happens every 3 years, so it's not every year that we can have this opportunity to all meet in person. And it's planned to be an in-person summit in the city of Malmö, Sweden. And they are very big on sustainability as well. So there's a lot of on-the-ground in-person workshops to attend. And we have several workshops and sessions planned around circular development. And then next up, on the next slide, we also have the ICLEI Circulars platform that I was mentioning earlier. So the ICLEI Circulars platform is the first platform developed for circularity at the local level globally. And so there we gather the ICLEI network member cities that are advancing on circular economy, as well as practitioners. And as you can see, we have different regional hubs, so they're continually growing. On the picture, we only see 3 so far, but we have the US hub as well. And the South America hub is being developed at the moment. And you can also see cities profiles like the city of Turku here, for example. We have circular development news and resources and events in our network are showcased there. And as we're having today this webinar, there's also a lot of opportunities for peer-to-peer exchange and learning through the platform. So if you're interested, you can visit our website and also subscribe to our newsletter to be kept up to date. And then lastly, if you would like to get in touch with us, this is our team's email, so you can reach me or my team there. And yeah, now I can just thank you all for the participation. It has been really great to launch this webinar with you, and thank you to our distinguished speakers and all the work that you're doing implementing circularity at the local level. Yeah, I wish you all a good afternoon, good evening, where you are in the world, and thank you again, and we'll be in touch. Bye, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Bye.